stop thinking so much about what you're meant to be doing. You know where the energy or the effort should go? Do you know where the energy or the effort should go? The energy or the effort should not go into the endless thinking about how to show up. I'm talking for your business, your ministry. Well, I'm talking for your message. Let's just make it simple. Those who follow me are messengers. I'm having a slight moment of uncertainty of whether I should have used one of my Life Is Now press play mugs for my sugar-free caramel salted hot chocolate double espresso situation that I've got going on here, because it would have been good branding. But then again, this mug is so beautiful, probably the most beautiful. So you've got to not put the thinking. This is going to be so important for you, right? Stop. If you're a messenger, if you are a leader, if you are called to impart and share something, if there is a flow and a fire which you know God has put in you, but it's meant to be stoked within you and it's meant to come out and people are meant to receive from it, please stop putting the effort and the time and the focus into trying to think your way into what you should be doing. The only place where the effort and the time and the focus should be going is into coming into the presence of the Lord, going into the Holy of Holies, spending time with him in the secret place, whether it's literal, private, solo, one-on-one time, or if you're on the go, you've got young kids underfoot, it's not really the season for big periods of time in the war room, so to speak, then it's on the fly, isn't it? It's in the car, it's while you're showering and forgetting your shampoo. It's as you're in between things. It's in those little moments where maybe something happens with one of the kids or in the household or in your life where the enemy just tries to get in with that voice of fear or condemnation or doubt or dread, and instead you choose to fight back and you choose to proclaim the things that are in you because you've been abiding in the word and because the Holy Spirit speaks to you. And so you pick up that sword and it's a quick moment, it's a quick declaration, it's a quick decree, and you're doing the dishes and you get dressed and whatever else is going on, right? So maybe that's the season right now, and it's a lot of on the fly stuff. Ideally, it's a bit of a mixture, isn't it? Ideally, it's a mixture of actual time, stillness, waiting in the presence of the Lord, and then it's the on the fly moments. And it definitely needs to be that when something happens throughout your day and it feels like it just knocked you off, and it just kind of right hooked you, that you do stand firm. And you do pick up the weapons that you've been given, and you do make a declaration and a decree, and you do hand something over to God again. So it needs to be all of that. But that stuff is where any effort or focus or kind of definite intent needs to be going. Where it doesn't need to be going, this is the comparison point that I'm making, where it doesn't need to be going is in trying to think your way into what you should be doing, saying, how to show up, what trend, if you will, or what's in fashion right now as far as reels or carousels or posts in general or email marketing or whatever it is that you're doing. Can I just tell you, as somebody who's been messaging quite successfully online for nearly 20 years now, coming up to 20 years, and really who has seen it all. I was there before the online industry was even a thing. Arguably, I was one of the people who founded the female online coaching industry, or definitely founded the black sheep side of it at the time. Can I just tell you that whatever you know now, the amount of knowledge or info or intel you have now about how to show up online and share a message and impart things to the people is absolutely enough for you to just flow with what comes out of you, the way it comes out of you, and let it be that it was meant to be the way it comes out of you. I'm not saying don't go and learn more things, I guess, I'll have a little asterisk by this, but I'm not saying don't go and learn more things about, a different platform maybe, or different styles or ways of doing things, or kind of what is the go-to, method that you might get your message out there or reach the people that you're here to reach, or build some kind of automation right now, or put something in place for your current sales, or whatever it might be, right? But the issue is that unless that is truly part of the work that God has called you to, which is understanding the intricacies, unless part of what God has called you to is understanding intricacies, possibilities, and then getting creative with the flow of marketing methodologies or different ways to sell and different ways to shop in that kind of a way, then it's honestly probably not where your focus ever needs to go. I don't believe you ever need to go out there and be like, let me take a course on how to understand every different in and out of the correct strategy of imparting my message. You could, and there would be benefit from that, absolutely. But the reason I'm saying this, and the reason I just feel like I don't think it's ever worth it, I don't know if it's ever a good idea for those who are in my space, is because we are the ones who are called to impart a thing and to let it be what it is as it's given to us, and to allow it to burn and to have that slow burn that happens in our spirit until it gradually starts to spill out. And it's actually meant to come out the way that it comes out in order for it to carry the life that it carries, in order for it to go out and hit like a missile to wherever it's meant to hit within the, heart, soul, everything of the person who you're here for. And it's meant to carry its own, frequency is such a new age word, but that's only because it's been, wrongly appropriated counterfeit version. So it's meant to carry the frequency of the Holy Spirit. It's meant to carry what it was carrying when it was put in you. And if you're going to spend your time trying to think your way into what the correct way is to show up online right now, or what overall kind of spreadsheet strategy or general plan of attack you should implement in order to finally be systematic, consistent, getting stuff out there, and then you're looking through a lens of essentially kind of like templated approaches based on maybe whoever you're learning from, or based on what's kind of most common right now, then all of that thinking, all of that strategizing, all of that figuring out, all of that trying to take this living, burning thing that's inside of you and put it into containers that apparently are palatable to the internet and apparently are going to ensure that people want to hear what you've got to say or respond to it, all of that is like squeezing the life right out of it, and it is such a distraction. It can be such a distraction and a derailment. Please hear me. I'm not saying never consider, maybe I'm going to do some reels that way. Maybe I'm going to do my emails that way. Maybe I'll set up, maybe you go through somebody's funnel flow and it feels really good and you just like it and it feels kind of simple and like a vibe. And so you think, maybe I'll model that a bit. All of that is awesome. But let it be that you trust that God will give you on the fly as you're pressing play on whatever it is you're truly here to press play on. Let it be that you trust that he will bring you to the right strategic adjustments that need to be made, and that if instead of that, if what you decide to do is spend any significant amount of time, energy, focus trying to think your way into your own understanding based on other people's understanding, no matter how much they're kicking butt at what they're doing, and you're trying to think your way into the overall structure or strategy, then you may well finally start to be consistent sharing some kind of a message. But you know what will likely happen? Your people, the people who you're really here for, the people who you were meant to impart something to, what are they going to do? They're going to scroll on by. They're not even going to see you. They're not even going to notice. Or if they already sort of know you and they're in your orbit, then sure, they'll give a half glance to that content. Or if they're super loyal and they're kind of like your inner circle type peeps anyway, then they're going to probably keep you on their, proper follow list or keep you in their inbox. And maybe they'll even look at it out of loyalty. None of that is you releasing the fire that you were here for. And I want you to just think, like fast forward in your mind's eye 30 days from now, fast forward a month from now, and let's imagine that you finally flicked some kind of a switch to where you were printing, publishing, posting, showing up with a consistent, fits the current bill, fits the current formula, fits the current trend way of doing your socials, your email marketing, your messaging, your online ministry, any of that. Oh my gosh. Let's imagine that you were doing that. I said, oh my gosh, because I was thinking of, there's people in the ministry world, in the messaging world relevant purely to ministry, who are not necessarily entrepreneurs, or maybe they are, and they have distinct styles. There's people who I follow who are in my space who have distinct styles, and it's kind of like, that such and such person, their posts are always kind of look that way, that's their vibe, or their colors that they like, or the way that they do their fonts and that sort of thing. And then if they're big players, you'll see other people start doing all their posts in that same way. Like I'll see people who I maybe somewhat know through real life circles or through online circles, and I'll literally see it and be like, oh, okay, that's cool. They're modeling such and such person's posts. Now, I've done this many times myself. I've done it as an entrepreneur. I've done it with, you know, things that I feel like are really going to hit people. I've done it with lots of different things. So I'm not critiquing it in that way. And I've certainly had it happen to me numerous times, like so many times, especially as I grew my business to where I was one of the most well-known female coaches. And the, you know, full-on peak of that was probably 2017, 2018, 2019. And people would continually model my style. And sometimes they would downright like plagiarize my actual content, which I definitely didn't care for that. But the modeling of my style, I never minded. Sometimes people would report it to me like, oh my gosh, this person looks like everything they're doing, it looks like cat. And I was like, well, unless they're literally ripping off my content, I'm not okay with that. And I'll always like message them and say something. But unless they're actually doing that, doesn't bother me at all. Even if they come out with the almost exact same program name, because actually we're in the same sort of alignment of what we're here for and what we, you know, really want to be imparting to the world, and even the visual style of that can be aligned. And it's also one way that you learn, modeling people. But if right now you're thinking that you're not being consistent enough in your showing up, that you're not really reaching who you're meant to reach, that you're not making sales that you're meant to make maybe, or that you can't just like somehow you can't seem to get behind really seeing and having vision for where God is taking you with this thing that he's putting inside of you, could one of the reasons for that be that where your time is going, where your focus is going, where your vision is going is into checking what other people are doing and trying to adjust yourself to make sure you fit the formula of whichever people group you're currently pedestaling that you think you need to get amongst, be in the room with, or just be on some kind of a level with? And what if you put your blinders on? And what if, honestly, the only people you kept in your space to follow were the ones who truly activate something within you, and they carry something that's for you right now, which can be internal, can be on the simple practicalities of day-to-day life, can be anything. And what if you just let it be that you just sort of loosely absorbed, because, I mean, you're studying the internet all the time. You don't need to go and learn the structure of how to post or share a message properly. Your study is the fact that you're scrolling, however much time you're spending scrolling. So what if you just loosely observed, oh, I really like that style, and you kind of like bookmarked it and you allowed it to come in if it feels right for you? But what if your true filter was none of that? And what if you unadopted, because at some point along the way you adopted, what if you unadopted the idea that there is a correct way to show up in the online space? And that there's a correct way that you're meant to be doing this thing on whichever platform you're on? What if you just unadopted that idea? Cancel, revoke access, delete, blank slate, start again. And what if you had this beautiful canvas and you understood that it is a canvas that God has put in front of you in some way? So I'm talking whichever social platform you want to use, email marketing, whatever it might be where you're going to connect with people. And even in saying that, I want you to notice where, that canvas, like whichever platform that you're telling yourself you should get on, is not even a canvas that's actually in front of me when I go into that, you know, innermost place and connect to true vision that comes from the Lord. So whatever is there, wherever you see yourself, when you're in that still place, that quiet place, that dropped in with his spirit place, not that place where you're looking at what you have to be in order to be enough, not that place, the other place. What do you actually see? And what if you had no freaking clue what the rules were and how your content is supposed to look and how your communication is supposed to be, such that the people who God has put you here for in this season and who are meant to be coming in and purchasing your stuff, following your stuff, or maybe being new friends, new affiliations, new business, you know, partnerships or whatever it might be, that you were just saying, sharing, imparting in the way that they actually can receive it. You know, when I came online, when I started doing content online, was 2006. So nearly 20 years. I wasn't even on social media at the time. I missed MySpace altogether. I just never got on. I didn't feel like I knew how to even consider the idea of that. I remember at the time when it was kind of like a thing and a lot of people I knew were jumping on there, and it just felt like too complicated and I didn't bother with it. Eventually I joined Facebook a couple years later, and that was only because I was curious about this Facebook thing and I was curious if I could find some of my old school friends. So I did that. And then bit by bit, obviously, it became connected to what I was already doing for years by that point online, which was blogging, writing, sharing a message, which at the time was all to do with women's fitness. So eventually that evolved into an online business called Woman Incredible. And the tagline was fitness, fat loss, and motivation for driven women who just want more. I hired an absolutely not right for me business coach offline because you couldn't find business coaches online at the time. It was literally pre that era. I had a business coach who spoke at Filex, which was Australia's largest fitness summit at the time that we did once a year in Sydney. I hired him as my personal coach. He told me you can't have a tagline that says fitness, fat loss, and motivation for driven women that just want more, because it's an unfinished sentence. What do they want more of? And I just thought, what do you mean, what do they want more of? Everything. Like, duh. But I listened to him because, you know, I didn't understand fully at that point about really standing in what I knew was right within me for me. And I also listened to him about the fact that he said I had too many bright colours everywhere and no one would take me seriously, and that everything needed to be corporate blue. I only listened to that bit for like a minute and a half because it was so boring and drab. And I just went back to all my neon colours. And even the tagline thing, I listened and I added something at the end of the tagline for driven women who just want more. I can't even remember what I added because it didn't take me long, and I just tore that down and I fired him. I stopped working with him. So I found my own way, right? By the time the online coaching industry came around, like really hit its speed, I had already been messaging, blogging, communicating, sharing, creating, and selling info products and home study boot camps and that kind of thing for years by that point. In fact, I'd already made high multiple six figures by that point, and the most expensive product that I was selling was $99. So I was selling pretty high volume. I had a really solid, loyal community of women and a few men who were hanging on, even though it was called Woman Incredible. And people loved my content. I loved my community. I just loved the whole thing. It was such a gift. It was such a gift, and it was so exciting. I can still remember being so just like awestruck and amazed at my first online course, which was a group telehealth coaching program on like a group conference call type thing. And it felt so high tech. And my partner and I went and traveled. Actually, was this when we got married? Yeah, we got married in Vegas, in the desert outside of Vegas. So we went and we spent the money that we could have spent on a wedding, and we went and did a 6-week trip around the US and Canada. We got married in the Valley of Fire, which is like red rock formation in the desert outside of Vegas. It was amazing. The whole wedding cost like $1,500, including the photo, the video, the minister, and the champagne and limo out to the desert. And then maybe another $1,000 or so for hiring the wedding dress and his suit. It was incredible. We got to walk through all the hotels in Vegas in the wedding dress and all. And so we spent the money on that trip and had this incredible trip. But on that trip, I was doing the conference calls for my first ever online program, which was a health telecoaching program. And I can remember sitting in my now ex-husband's aunt's living room in Edmonton, Canada, where we were staying for a few days. And I went into like the front room, you know, the good room, and I did this health telecoaching call where it was like 2 a.m. in Australia or something, but I was doing it on a US timetable, and I had people all around the world already who had found me organically through just showing up and sharing content on a DIY blog that I built myself on WordPress that I didn't pay for. And I never heard of Facebook ads at the time, and I hadn't paid for anything. All I had done was shared a message and marketed my blog. When I say marketed, I mean published it, like pressed publish. The only marketing I was doing was jumping onto other blogs and making little comments on other blogs, because it was that year and it would kind of like point back to your blog. And I had a little rule of 10 comments on other people's blogs before I would go to bed each night. That was my marketing, right? But gradually people found me. And I can remember being so blown away and awestruck that I was doing this call from a living room in Canada, in Edmonton, and I'm getting paid for that. And it was like amazing to me. I had such a childhood wonder about what we could do, what I could do online, and about the fact that I got to share something and communicate and create and yes, make money as well, and have a business that had this complete like whole new world possibility. When social media started to really hit its stride for me and for most of the people I knew, I'm sure there were many early adopters before then, but when it started to really hit its stride, it was the Wild West. There was no one out there telling you how your stuff should look. I mean, I was posting photos of my food before that ever became a thing. Long before we'd heard the word influencer or Instagram. They were like grainy, like I never heard of styling my plate or my background. I literally posted like, usually it was just random pieces of leftover chicken with whatever, like it was just straight boring. right? It was real. It was just the flat out, literally unfiltered. Nobody ever heard of lighting or any of that stuff. And it was real. And it was a conversation. My social media page, which was a Facebook page, back in the day when Facebook pages were very much still a community, or they could be, it was a place that I saw where my people were. They were all around the world by then. Not just in my hometown, which is where it started with my own individual clients at the time. So I just saw it as an ongoing conversation that I'm in. And I would just genuinely think about what I was going to share each day that I felt like people needed to hear, or that maybe they were interested in hearing, or that I'd noticed or observed that people wanted to understand more. And all of my first products that I made in that business were from that as well. It was literally stuff that people asked me for, or that I felt like would benefit them, or that I would already be doing with my private clients. And then I felt like, how can I get this out there to more people? The whole approach was conversation, communication, conversation, connection, genuine connection. Somewhere along the way, you guys, in the past 20 years, and I only see this speeding up now, like it's becoming more, it's becoming worse, it's becoming more ridiculously factory produced. Every different thing you see on Insta or wherever, I don't go on TikTok, but I assume it's the same there. I don't really go on anywhere else. I jump on Facebook a bit because I've got so many old connections there. And I still post my stuff there, but on Instagram is kind of the main place where I feel like I'm in the conversation, I guess, in this way, relevant to most of what I do. And then I post stuff on YouTube and everything, but I don't kind of give it any regard as far as seeing it as real community. I don't. But here, it's just only becoming more factory produced. It's formulaic. There's a right way, there's a less right way, there's a what's really working right now. It's always about being on the cutting edge, the latest, the most trending audio, or reel style, or, you know, hook, or whatever it is. And it becomes more and more like that. I want to say something, but I feel like it's going to come off as super judgy. But I was going to say, I'm going to say it anyway. But it's just kind of like, okay, the way women's faces even are supposed to look, or especially here on the Gold Coast, there's a look, right? The exact right amount of filler, the exact right style of lashes, the exact right whatever, the exact style of hair, the exact kind of outfits. It's like you're just printing people over here. And there's a version of that in just about any people group, any country, any industry, any circle. It's like, cool, there's another 100 Stepford whatever, right? I'm not saying it to try and be mean or anything like that at all. Because sometimes that stuff is how you find your feet, maybe. Or sometimes maybe nobody ever told you that there's a different way. And as someone who's been doing this longer than most people ever will, like literally 10 times longer than most people ever will even bother trying to shop for this thing. As someone who's been here through the last 20 years of my life, and whoever's been on the journey with me, which is more than a few people that have been with me that long, and who's gone through every different new, you know, platform and trend and way of doing things, I can tell you that what stands the test of time is a message that is for the ages. It's a message that's unshakable. Now, I'm not trying to speak to everybody with this, but let me say to you, if you're in my space, if you came across this somehow, or if you never heard of me and somehow you came across me, then I believe God put it in front of you. So I believe that if you're here, you're one of those people who the idea of spending your time to create largely like your, quote marks, your version of mass-produced formulaic content purely in order to make some money and to push something out into the world, that a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, or even 2 weeks from now doesn't even remotely reflect the fire that God has put in you. But hey, sure, if you were systematic and got a little spreadsheet and carefully dotted your I's and crossed your T's. I don't even know how to do the formula. And really applied yourself to following, you know, the trends and the stuff that apparently is meant to work. If you fast forward and that's what you gave your time for, I just believe that's one of the most heartbreaking, devastating things that could happen for somebody who truly carries a message that is a living, breathing thing that God has put in you, that you are meant to enter into the Holy of Holies with Him on, receive that missive and fresh oil daily for your life. And then if you're a messenger, then pretty close to daily, it comes out for others in some kind of a way. If that's who you are, and you carry fire, Holy Spirit fire, not counterfeit fire, and maybe you're just moving into that now and actually understanding what that even means, but either way, you know if it's you, and that's something that is meant to come out of you like a roaring tidal wave, like a gushing wind, like a supernatural fire, which is what it is, which sweeps through, shocks people, shakes people, wakes people, breaks things off in the spirit realm, activates, brings a light that you certainly can't carry, or well, you carry it, but you certainly couldn't create, which I'm talking about the light of Christ. If that's you, and then you want to go and spend your time, your focus, your effort, your thinking, making sure you fit the formula on cute little carousels and trending reels with current hooky point of view questions, stop it. Oh my gosh. And this is only for you if it's for you. So just go away if it's not. That's fine. But I'm speaking to those who carry fire and are meant to be imparting fire. You know who you are. Maybe you have no idea where to start with that, but it's not by shoving yourself and this thing that lives and breathes inside of you into exactly the right box that the internet says it's meant to be right now, and then spit it out like you sucked every last bit of spiritual nutrition out of it, but now it's a cute little, I don't know, pill that somebody can swallow, and it gives them a little chuckle, or it gives them a little moment of inspiration, or it imparts some element of truth, or some kind of a, I don't know, what everyone wants to hear right now in your industry, or what's apparently working. Do you know how to know if you're off track with what you're sharing, imparting, and showing up with? You're going to bed every night with the taste of betrayal in your mouth. Soul betrayal, you betraying yourself, and or you feel continually just grief. There's a sense of grief there. Frustration, for sure, as well. Maybe sadness, maybe dread, maybe exhaustion, because you flat out don't want to be hammering yourself into any kind of box that a people group or the internet says is the right box, but you didn't ever heard that there's another way, and maybe you didn't even realize that you're doing it. But guess how it should feel to impart what you're here to impart? Like how I feel right now. It should feel like I did what I came here to do. And if it happened to look good, whatever, cool. It's not that I don't make no effort. Actually, I'm so excited today that I figured out that I can, this is my, like a, I'll hold it back so you can sort of see it. This is a tiny clip-on light that actually comes on like a little hinge clip, which I got off Amazon for about $40. It's like honestly the best thing I ever bought. I can't clip it onto the top of the phone. It will crack the screen and it covers the camera. And I just figured out for this live stream that I can unscrew it off its hinge clip and I can screw it onto the top of another tripod, and it solved so many issues for me right now. So it's not that I don't think about this stuff. You know, I think about my background. Yeah, like if I can, but I also do this stuff in the car all the time. You guys see me. It's one of the best places for me to just do things in between kids and life and whatever, right? With or without remembering to bring the light. You know? So it's fine to consider, oh, what's a little vibe, or get yourself a cute backdrop, or think about your placement of your chair, whatever, right? Get a light. Lights are good. Lights are a good idea. But do you know what? I used to be, my first videos, which by the way was already nearly 10 years after I'd been online and I'd made well over a couple million by that point. And then video became more of a thing. So I would record these like 3 to 4 minute videos. I called it Entrepreneur Reality TV, which was a cool name. I don't know, it might still be on my YouTube, I'm not sure. But I would upload them at the time to Facebook. But nobody had heard of lighting or like anything. I mean, they come up in my memory sometimes. And firstly, I'm amazed at the horror show that was my eyebrows because I didn't know. But secondly, it was like no makeup, no filters, obviously, no clue. It just looked like pretty basic and messy and pretty grungy and sweaty, because that's usually how I was rolling around, pretty grungy and sweaty. It was just a message of truth. That was the exact era that I had my first multi-million-dollar year. It's always been the message. It's always been the message. And whatever voice is telling you that you can't keep up, if you don't get yourself a whole studio and a whole suite of whatever and the latest, greatest whatever and make everything look whatever, I mean, just ask yourself, is that where God is leading you right now? Like when you go into the time in the quiet place with him and you're in that stillness and that fire starts to burn within you and you know you're meant to impart something, or you just have a continual ticking that's always there when you keep not showing up and sharing a message because meanwhile you think that you can't today because you don't have the right stuff yet, or you're not looking the thing today, or whatever it is. Just like, really, is that where the concern should be? You know it's a good idea because I think it's awesome to have great aesthetics, great quality equipment and that kind of a thing. I mean, I'm like literally on my phone with a $40 light, so you don't need all the things, but sure, right? Like it's nice to have some stuff, I guess. But what you got to do is get your consistent imparting of the fire that's in you going on first, and then you kind of add that stuff along the way. Let it just add along the way. Do you know what I mean? How do you know you're doing what you're meant to be doing? How do you know you're releasing what you're meant to be releasing? And I'm speaking not just to the free, conversation and content that goes out there, but to whatever you're meant to be selling or could be selling, or what would be coming through you to create and share with the world and put out there as an offer. You can't find that stuff by trying to figure out and find it and by trying to look at what would work or is working. You find it by being in the thing. You find it by showing up for today's work today. You find it by putting your blinders on. And imagine, even if you weren't there 20 years ago online when I was, imagine you were back in the wild west of the online space where nobody had ever told you that you have to fit into this exact box in this exact way in order to carry something and impart that thing to the world that's of value. Then what would you do today using the tools, the platform, the equipment, the whatever that you've got in front of you? And by the way, I just want you guys to know, I always need to hear this sermon myself. There have been so many times, even recently, but off and on over the whole entire 20 years, that many times when I've hidden, pulled back, been in resistance, been in avoidance, or just not being consistent with imparting what I'm meant to be imparting. Sometimes it's been a necessary season of like recalibration and that kind of a thing within me, or waiting on God. That definitely more so the last few years. But there's been many times there was no good reason for it at all. It literally was because I started to buy in to the lie that my next level is becoming more fancy or more proper or more whatever. Now, I may well become whatever along the way because I'm a human who's evolving always, so things are going to shift and change. But if I do, all of a sudden, I mean, I had like not just a studio, but an entire curated art gallery-esque personal, creative space warehouse that I had the last few years, which I sold last year. That looked epic as a backdrop. It was so cool, and it cost so much money as well, and it was fun. But did that change my brand? No, it was honestly just the thing that I thought was cool and fun. It really made no difference in the people. People are not like, oh, wow, I see that she's, got this really cool, epic, vibey backdrop. She might be the one that I'm meant to listen to. I mean, I guess you could argue that sometimes that stuff visually gets attention and someone will see something that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. But why would you want to make that your argument? Why not make your argument that when you show up daily for the work that's inside of you and you just say yes and press play and you keep handing it over to God and waiting on his leading and actually, taking the time to receive that fresh oil that you're meant to receive today and then letting his spirit lead you in what you do, why don't you just make the argument that if you just do that along the way you'll encounter whatever add-ons and, polished proper bits should be encountered and can be added on, and it's kind of neither here nor there, And if you do, then awesome. And if you don't, then you're like, what's the expression? I was thinking of the expression, some will, some won't, so what? Something like that, right? So I'm sorry to use this expression. No, I'm not going to use it. Cancel. God's like, no. Everyone's like, what was it? It wasn't even that bad, but it just didn't need to be said. But stop limiting yourself. Stop chaining yourself. Stop operating. Oh, I heard this on a sermon yesterday. This was so good. Actually, this was on the sermon for my church, on our home church sermon that we listened to yesterday. But it said something like, you're free, but you're still operating with a Egypt mindset. Actually, the preacher was talking about, it was not our preacher, he was doing a guest joint sermon with a friend of his. So the friend was talking about, and the Israelites, the generation that actually never experienced slavery in Egypt because they were born and grew up in the wilderness, and then they came into the promised land, but they still had a Egypt mindset, which, if anyone doesn't know what that means, like a slave mindset. They had a bondage mindset, even though they'd never even experienced bondage. Where are you right now operating in a bondage mindset in how you show up for what's inside of you, when actually there's no reason for that to have ever been there in the first place, except that you rolled onto the internet just assuming that there's rules that you have to follow and that you have to fight your way to get anywhere of value, and that you can't just trust that God will lead you into your promised land to possess the land that you're here to possess, as far as whatever that means to your business, ministry, or whatever it is that you're here to do. Does that make any kind of sense? I don't know. So take all of that thinking, take all the thinking, take all the obsessing over what you're meant to be doing on this here internet thing, and just imagine that it was your place. The whole thing is just a canvas that God put in front of you, just for you personally, because you know what? Your profile, your email newsletter, your website, your whatever it is you do is the canvas that God put in front of you just for you for this season. Maybe at some point it becomes someone else, you have a partner or whatever. I don't know. You get the idea, right? So just imagine that you were allowed to paint this canvas any which way you want to as a child of God who is yielded to his spirit, who knows that she's being rightly led, or he's being rightly led. Then what would come out? What is your unique way of imparting or sharing something today? And you know what? If it happens to plop into a cute carousel or an on-trend reel now and again, I'm not going to raise my eyebrow at you for it, as long as honestly, it's literally because that was a fun vibe that day and you felt cute and you felt in the mood. It's not because you think that that is the lens that you have to hammer yourself into in order for anyone to hear you, all right? So we're not trying to make some kind of rebellious point of refusing to do anything that everyone else does. I've definitely been there. It's not the point, right? You get what the point is. If you don't get what the point is, you're probably on the wrong live stream at this point. So let me tell you about a couple of things that are going on right now. Firstly, if you're not in my online space, that's weird. And I mean, like, this is fine. Instagram's awesome. But I have a newsletter which goes out for free very frequently. If you don't like long, prophetic / Holy Spirit downloads / whatever's coming through me that day at missives, then you probably don't want to join this. But if you want to get on my email newsletter, I sometimes post my whole writing, because I write a blog pretty much every day and it's a full download. And I've done that for way too long to remember, well over a decade at least 14, 15 years. I don't post it very often on Instagram. I'll post bits sometimes, or sometimes I'll break up the whole post on a carousel, which is just like annoying to do. So I mostly don't do that because it bothers me. So if you really want to get my true work as far as my writing and what I'm here to unleash, I love the writing more than anything. You can comment the word faith, I believe. We'll see what happens if you comment faith. I don't think that's the right word. Faith beyond measure, maybe? I don't know. Newsletter? Let me ask Kelly now. We'll see if she answers. Oh, that's not Kelly. That's my sister. What is the mini chat trigger word for faith beyond measure again? I don't know. There's a free gift pack that you can get. You can also just go to katrinaruthministries.com/faith beyond measure and you can get the faith beyond measure free gift pack. Oh, here it is. It's beyond measure. If you comment that trigger word after I post this as a reel, or you DM it to me, I'll send you the link to the free gift pack right away and it will put you on my email newsletter. But right now there are 2 epic ways to work with me. One of them is a bigger all-in private client access, apprenticeship, mentorship, and it's definitely not for everyone because this is Kingdom Law School. It is pretty much what it sounds. We are going all in studying, integrating, Holy Spirit led, and walking forward in the ordinance of the kingdom of heaven. So God said to me that this is about releasing the rules of this realm. This is deep, heavy, exciting stuff. It's not heavy like, whoa. It's just like, whoa. And it's very much for a specific type of person. You either obsessively want to really understand heavenly law and your rights and the correct way that you should be walking, the power and authority that you have as a child of God, as a citizen of heaven, and operate from kingdom law on this earth, or you don't. There's not really an in-between there. But if you want to know about Kingdom Law School, comment or DM me the word kingdom and I can directly send you the link. You can always message me and ask for anything, but when I say these comment trigger words, it just lets the little automation that I've set up send it to you automatically, so you get it right away. And that Kingdom Law School, maybe at some point I'll put this on a page, like an actual sales page, because I've got only thousands of them already. But in this case, I felt to put it on a Google Doc. It's a letter, really. It's so powerful. It's so beautiful. It will hit you. It will gut punch you. And of course, it goes through everything that we're going to be doing in there. It really paints a picture of what we're going to be doing, as well as go through kind of like the practicalities and how it works and so on. And there's 3 payment options. It is a super low cost thing for 6 whole months private client access to me. If you read that and you've got any questions, just go ahead and message me. And then the other thing, and so that's not for everyone. You know, if you're interested in that, you can, go check it out. The word for that one is kingdom. The other one, which is maybe not for everyone, but kind of for most people, is I'm just looking for the link. The Make Money Now challenge is a 30-day live challenge that I have run several times over the years. And it's kind of like my go-to, super vibey, super fun, super intense. Let's get it done. Flick a switch on your revenue right now. And I've run that about once a year over the years. And I didn't run it last year, I don't think, because I knew that I would need to remake all the content if I did that. And I didn't really feel like I was in the mood to do that. But now I am in the mood to do that. So we're running the Make Money Now challenge. It's actually going to start on Friday this week. It's back for 2025, all new and more on point than ever. This is $97 for the entire live 30 days with me. There's a Facebook group. We're going to be in the communication, in the conversation, in the connection, all that OG stuff. And it is time to get the message out there that you're meant to be getting out, and to expect the income. Expect things to work. Expect overflow. Expect new ideas. Expect creativity. That is at katrinaruthministries.com/make money now. It's a short page. You can go read about it, and you can get your place. Let me show you the page. This is on a proper page, not a Google Doc. Not that it makes a difference. So you can also comment the word money, and it will DM you the link, or DM me the word money. I want to read you this that I wrote this morning. I said, this is one of those don't think, just go things at a what even just happened price point for a full 30 days in-house, well, in digital house with me, to completely revolutionize your incomings, your what you are able to truly receive, and thus hold. That's important. Hold. A next level understanding of godly wealth, creative joy, overflow, aligned to you in this season, sales flow, and so much more. We will also, this is so good, be tearing down false and poverty mindsets, condemnation and wrong expectations, and so much more. This is your do not miss for 2025. If you know that there should be more coming in and staying in with greater ease, joy, and as a simple flow and result of you just being you. So sometimes as entrepreneurs, particularly faith-led entrepreneurs, we really need to get the muck out of the way and realize where we've been carrying these low expectations that God never gave, or a fearfulness now of making money. That's very common for those who have come out of their own thing. I went through all that as well. So this is going to be such a beautiful course, actually, because it's a complete redo of the practical side of actually getting the things out there, and the flowy sales and marketing and all of that good stuff, new offers stuff, automation stuff, you name it, like anything to do with making money online. We're going to be covering it on a practical, on the practical side. But we're not covering it like the bros, the marketing bros. I don't know which kind of bros. There might be some bros that are doing things in a intuitive, flowy, correct, sort of Holy Spirit-led way. So that's fine. So we're going to cover all of that. And then, of course, we're doing the identity stuff, the inner stuff, the who are you meant to be stuff. But we're doing that from a depth of place of understanding true identity, which is directly in God. And so then we're bringing in an understanding of the godly principles that are relevant to income and expectations, and then breaking stuff off, and so much more, so much more. I could make this page about 3 times longer, but I just didn't. So that one is at katrinaruthministries.com/make money now, or comment or DM me the word money. Okay, that is it for today. Please let me know if this hit you. Leave me a comment. Send me a missive, spirit to spirit. Send me a message if you want. Ask me what you want. But please just stop looking around the internet to find out who you're meant to be. It's not a good place to find that out. You know where the place is to find out who you're meant to be. Get before the Lord. Have expectation that he will lead and guide you. And then create, flow, and show up from the way that it comes out of you, if you were just being you, working with what's in front of you. And trusting that it will work, because it's God who causes the increase. It's not the person who follows the current laws of Instagram who receives the increase. Amen? Amen. All right, have a beautiful rest of the day or evening, wherever you are in the world. And do not forget, life is now. Press play.